Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of the Triple Threat Podcast with me, your host, Terrence Crystal. And I am happy to announce that this is the newest episode of season 2 of the Triple Threat Podcast. Yes, I'm so happy. I'm back on the wagon after, taking a little bit of a break with just work and life in general. Yeah. So I'm back on the wagon. I'm going to be going at it. But this is going to be season 2 because season 1 has like 19 episodes. And I feel like that's obviously get to 20, that's perfect. But I don't know, I feel like 19 is perfect. So this is going to be the brand new episode of season 2. We're going to be having old guests coming back, new guests coming in. And I'm so excited. It's 2024. And this is a special episode to kick off the season 2. But before we get into that, let me just talk about what's been going on lately. As of now, it is March 10th of 2024. We are 3 months into the year already, which is fucking crazy because January felt like 17 goddamn years. And then February and almost now half of March is gone like that. I can't believe it. It's going to be summer soon, which I love. I love summer. Not just because of my birthday, but I do love summer as a season. I love summer. Which is my favorite season? I'm sorry. I just have to say this. I hate you bitches that it'll be like December 20th and you bitches will just be like, or literally it'll be September 20th, whatever. And it'll just be like T-minus 150 days until this weather again. And it's a TikTok and it's people lounging about in the sun. And I'm just like, we just had this. And the same with Christmas. Like, it could be February 22nd, whatever. And people on TikTok or the internet are just like, just to let you know, then in about 10 months, it'll be like this. And I'm just like, we just celebrated this less than 2 months ago. Like, we know. Why are you talking about this? Oh, I just find it very, very annoying sometimes. But hey, sometimes I like it and I save it. And yeah, I will support creators. Are you not supporting creators? Then what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. For this episode, since today is Oscars night, which is really fun because usually these goddamn Oscar ceremonies are they start at 2:30 a.m. in the UK or Ireland and don't finish until like 4:30 or even 5. But this year, they're starting at 11 p.m. tonight and what time is that in LA? Is that 4:30 in LA? Yeah, I think that's 4:30 in LA. I don't know. Time is a construct. Time is a thing that you put on the wall. Oh, stupid. Just drinking my coffee. No, they're starting earlier this year, which I think is a very, very, very smart decision. It's a very smart decision to start the ceremony earlier so that we can get through the whole entire ceremony because it's 24 categories and each person deserves a televised speech. They tried to do that one year when they didn't televise half the speeches, which was met with a lot of backlash. And I think the perfect thing to solve it is to do the show earlier in the day. I do think that waiting until March 10th is a bit of a drag. Like, I feel like they should have been, I don't know, like the weekend of, what was last Sunday? What was last Sunday? Sorry, I'm going into my calendar. I feel like it should have been the 3rd of March. Like, it feels like we're waiting a week too long. But anyway, I was lucky enough, not lucky enough, well, yeah. I was lucky enough to see all 10 Best Picture nominees. I've seen them recently because a lot of them have just come out in the UK to cinemas. Some of them are on streaming. Like, I know Past Lives is on Netflix. And Poor Things has now just been added to Disney+. So, and I think 7 out of the 10 of them you can probably rent on like Apple or Amazon. Yeah, I think there's only 2 that you. No, I think there's just no. Yeah, 2. There's 2 you can't see, and that's Zone of Interest and American Fiction because they just got released in cinemas like 3 or 4 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. Yeah, 3 weeks ago. Sorry, I'm drinking my coffee again. I'm trying to. So I'm a big coffee gal, but only recently. And I'm trying to cut back because I work at a cafe, and obviously I get free coffees, which saves me a fuck ton of money. Um, saves me a fuck ton of money, and it saves me a fuck ton of money, and it's like. It helps. Like, it doesn't help that like I can go in and just like I can like sometimes I'll have like 4 coffees in a day, which is so bad. So what I'm trying to do now is just limit myself to at least 2. I feel like 2 is good. I feel like 1 in the morning, and then with me personally, I have 1 at around maybe 2 o'clock, 2 maybe 3 o'clock, just to give me that extra kick I need at the like to get through the rest of the day. Yeah. And also, I've been getting a lot of auditions more recently, which is a lot of fun. And not just auditions, a lot of callbacks. So I'm praying 2024 is my year. I feel like 100% it is. I just have to keep doing what I'm doing. Like, yeah. I feel like I don't know how that I got that from coffee. But anyway, yeah, 2 coffees a day, and 2024 will be my year, and I will book a job. So you just better be praying for me. I don't feel you praying for me. Why aren't you praying for me? Come on. Ah! Oh God. Sorry, this just came into my head. Dune Part 2 has just come out, and I'll give my full review in another episode. But this is a spoiler. Well, no, actually, I won't talk about the full thing until the next episode. But Dune Part 2 had one of the funniest jokes I've heard in recent memories. Like, I genuinely, when they did the joke, I laughed out loud so hard in the cinema. Like, in Dune Part 2, the sci-fi action religion trauma movie by Denis Villeneuve with Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya had one of the funniest jokes I've ever seen. Oh God, it's so stupid. But anyway, I've had the lucky. I've seen all 10 Best Picture nominees. I'm going to talk about each one, and I'm going to talk about like my ranking of them and what I think is the best films of these 10. Yeah, so I think 2023, I think, is a fantastic year for film. I think it's one of the great years. We've got Christopher Nolan, we've got Martin Scorsese, we've got Greta Gerwig, we've got Yorgos, we've got not new directors. Well, yeah, new directors like Celine Song in her debut film with Past Lives. This year was very good. It was very good for cinema, and I think it'll be recognized as one of the greats. And I feel like this award season, a lot of the categories have been very clean sweep, like Best Supporting Actress. Divine Joy Randolph has been sweeping and has won every single award for her role in The Holdovers, which is absolutely deserved. It's one of those rare sweeps where like I fully agree with it. I'm just like, yeah, she deserves every single award. She's that good in the film. But there are some other categories that are a bit of like a tight race. Like Best Actress is a very tight race, and Best Screenplay, and kind of Best Actor, even though I do think Cillian Murphy is going to get it. But I feel like Paul Giamatti could be the upset. What was I about to say? Yeah, and then but like, and I feel like even like this is the first time in a while. Well, actually, yeah, the first time in a while. I think the first time since maybe 2001 was 2002. No, 2003. 2003 was the year that Lord of the Rings: Return of the King won Best Picture. Now, Return of the King was beloved by the critics. It was beloved by the audience, and it was a box office success. And it literally won every single category it was nominated for. I feel like Oppenheimer is going to do the same. It's not going to win every single category it's nominated for, mind you. But it's a universally acclaimed film. The critics love it. The audiences loved it. And it was a box office smash. It's like, I think it's like 40 million short of $1 billion. So last year we kind of had a small indie film beloved by audiences. Critics did love it, but I think it really rung true with audiences with Everything Everywhere All at Once. A small A24 film that really rose from the ashes and really just devoured the competition. And deservedly so. I think it was one of those rare Best Picture wins where everyone was just like, yes, I agree. That film, yes, absolutely 100%. That film deserves it. This year, I don't know if everyone agrees that Oppenheimer should win, but I mean, a lot of people will just be like, yeah, I understand. Yeah, it was a good film. Definitely should have won. Yeah, no, this year, yeah. I always love this year. I'm going to try this year to actually see more films in the cinema, because what I tend to do usually is I wait until you kind of know what's going to be on the Best Picture or the Oscars list around September, October. You kind of know because the people are talking about it, the buzz is going around. Venice, Sundance, and all those film festivals have finished up, and they've picked their favorites or the winners of the awards there. So you kind of know who's going into award season. So, but what I'm going to try to do now is I'm going to try and watch the films in their actual theatrical run, which unfortunately for a lot of these goddamn Oscar films, so it's so weird how the politics of the Oscars work. Which is why Everything Everywhere winning last year was kind of an upset. 1307, cut at 1307. So Everything Everywhere All at Once last year was released in March. Yes, it was released in March of 2022. Which for an Oscars movie is unheard of, because unless the film is absolutely memorable and iconic and extremely good, it tends to be forgotten about by the time the actual award season's chat begins, which is the autumn time, which is why a lot of these Oscar baity films like to release their films between the months of September and December. Like last year, we had like The Color Purple, Maestro, Anatomy of a Fall, even American Fiction coming out. Like, it came out later in the United States in around November, because the voting time is in January, so those films are the freshest in their minds, which is stupid. Fucking stupid. So, yeah, they should really, yeah. I mean, mind you, there's been an article written about how a lot of the actual Academy Award voters don't watch all the films nominated for Oscars, which is just ridiculous. Or the way they treat animated films. Like, there was a report that said that, oh, I didn't see all the nominees for Best Animated Film. I just picked the one that made the most money. And it's just like, what? Like, are you stupid? Yeah. It's stupid sometimes, yeah. But through their ebbs and flaws, like, it is wild to think of the politics of it. I think they're getting better, and they're heading towards a direction where they should be better, but I think we're on a slow growing path to it. But yes, I've seen all 10 films, and I'm going to talk about my ranking of them. Now, my ranking of them, unlike previous years, this year was really cool because there was no one film that was bad, per se. Like, every single one of the 10 Best Picture nominees this year, they were really good films. Like, there was not one film where when I finished watching, I was just like, what the fuck? That was bad. How was this nominated? Like other years. Like, every single one was of good quality. So I'm just, if you know me personally, you'll know that I posted this on my, here we go. I posted this on my Instagram. So I'm just putting it out there now for you to have my in-depth review of well, not in-depth. Some of them I've reviewed before because I saw them during the year, so I'm not going to go into much detail about them. But the first movie we have at number 10, at the last but not least, and it's The Zone of Interest, and it's just personal taste for me, even though this film visually and sonically was a marvel. Like, they say that art is supposed to make you uncomfortable. It's supposed to make you feel positive and negative emotions. This film is the encapsulation of that. So The Zone of Interest is about a family, a mom, a dad, and their kids. And the dad is a general who oversees Auschwitz, the concentration camp, during the time of World War II. And they live right beside the Auschwitz camp and literally share a wall with the camp. And the way they have this background of terror throughout the whole entire film, because you never actually see the inside of the camp because the wall is always there. They never show you the inside. They just show you the house itself and the family living their normal lives, which is brilliant because it's kind of a take on what does evil look like, because this family is a normal family just living their lives and trying to make it by, but they're completely ignoring the absolute atrocities that the husband is committing for the historical period. So it's a very hard watch, but it's a much needed watch, because I feel like this could be applied into any historical atrocity of how we tend to almost overlook it if it's not affecting us directly. Yeah. Which is horrible, and I think we should do better. But this film, like, points you right into that direction. It's like, this is what was like at the time. Are we going to let history repeat itself? And like, the one takeaway I had from this film was the cinematography, which is brilliant because apparently they just put the cameras in the room and set them up. So for the whole entire filming of it, it was just the actor and the camera. There was no sound guys. There were no lighting. The director wasn't in the room. They were in separate rooms. So it was just the actor by itself. So it's very interesting as an actor having to play with that, just being completely on your own. And Sandra Hüller she's scary in this film. Yeah. So at number 10 is Zone of Interest. Oh, and the sound. Like, the sound and score of this is something I've never heard before. It's almost scary. how they use the sound throughout this film. It's in cinemas now, and I recommend you watch it. The reason why it's at the bottom is because like it's visually and message wise, it's very fascinating and extremely impressive. It does, however, tend to get boring. Like nothing really does happen, but and I think for me personally, the other films on the list I had a better time with and I enjoyed more. So it's still a very good film and you should go see it, but that's why it's on the bottom of my list. So yes, number 10 is Zone of Interest. Now, number 9 is Maestro. Maestro is the film directed by Bradley Cooper, starring Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan as Leonard Bernstein and his life. First off, I just want to say the acting in this is a tour de force. Both Bradley and especially Carey Mulligan, like they are powerhouses in this film. They truly master the art of controlling the screen and camera and just pulling focus by the most subtle of ways. And you could tell that the work they did for this film was phenomenal. The acting, and even the kids who Maya Hawke plays their daughter, and she's very much this immature, but in a sense that she is like a young girl of discovering her dad having these affairs and the mom kind of agreeing with it and covering it up. And yeah, the acting here for me is like, I think this film is recognized just purely for the acting because the visual spectacle of it. It's black and white. Well, it's black and white for most of it. For the first half when he's a young man. And it's a visual splendor to watch. Like Bradley Cooper, like I'm more excited. Well, I love Bradley Cooper as an actor, but I'm really excited to see what he's going to do for directing. Because if it's like this, if it's like A Star Is Born, then he is generally in the right direction to be great. The only downside to this movie was the script. And in the sense of not even the dialogue was great. The film didn't know what it wanted to be because, yes, it shows you his life, but is it about his life or is it about the wife's life or is it about his music and how it affected him or is it about how he dealt with his wife and her passing, her dying of cancer? You know, it's a lot of different things, and I don't think it really knows what it wants to be. Like, for example, Oppenheimer and the creation of the bomb and how it affected him. This Maestro, it's more, for lack of a better term, messy. Like, it wants to focus on the music and his creativity, but then it also focuses on his wife, then it also focuses on his children, then it also focuses on his affairs that he had as a gay man and his relationship with his wife about that. But then it's a bit all over the place. The reason why it's number 9 and not number 10 is that I severely enjoyed the performances of this. Like these performances are meaty and like these are like, if it wasn't such a crowded year, I would say these two would be the lock for the winners. But yeah, no, I think it's on Netflix. Give it a watch. It's I've seen some discourse about it. People like being like, this is like bad. But I don't agree with that. I don't agree. It's not bad at all. It's actually like it's actually a very good watch. And it's fun. It's fun watching these two kind of fall in love, but in a more of like almost like a romantic platonic, even though I know those two words don't go together because they're kind of the opposites. But and like how they help each other, even though, yeah. I think Maestro, you should give it a try before you listen to someone online tell you it's shit. And that's for life in general. Now, at number 8, I've talked about this film before. I'm just going to explain why it's number 8 on the list. Number 8 is Oppenheimer. Even though Oppenheimer is going to win picture, director, actor, supporting actor, cinematography, score, and film editing. It's going to win 7 Oscars. It's going to win 7 Academy Awards. It could win 8. It could win 8, which would be crazy. I understand why this film is being so revered as it is. Because comparatively to all of Christopher Nolan's films, this is his magnum opus. I would argue that because The Dark Knight really was quite like, I think Oppenheimer, the next test it has to do is the test of time, which obviously the factor being of time passing. So if we're still talking about Oppenheimer in 10 years' time and how it affected the world and cinema, then yes, it will be Christopher Nolan's magnum opus. So until that happens, for me personally, I think Christopher Nolan's best film is The Dark Knight. I think it's The Dark Knight. But I think that this is a recognition of not just Oppenheimer, but of all of his work of the past 15 years. That Christopher Nolan is a visionary. He is a spectacular director, and he deserves finally this recognition. Absolutely. And is it a good enough? Do I agree that it's a good enough film to win Best Picture? Yes, I do. Do I think that other films deserve the top prize? I also do. So the reason why it's so low on my list is honestly just because of The Last Hour. Because The Last Hour, it just repeats the same information over and over again to the point where I'm even like, okay, we know, can we move on? And that's all I really have to say about it, because I've already talked about it enough. It's a spectacular film with great direction, great performances. The script is very tight, apart from The Last Hour. Oh, and the female characters, I believe, are severely underwritten, or just kind of like shoeboxed into classic stereotypes of women in film. So that's why it's kind of low. I feel like if Christopher Nolan's next film can fix those problems, then hey, we're going to a great future with Nolan. But it'll be nice to finally see Christopher Nolan win the gold after so many tries. Now let me see. What is number 7? Number 7? Yeah, number 7. Number 7. Killers of the Flower Moon. Already talked about this. Loved it. Really paced really well. I'm trying to think of why I put it so low. Honestly, why I put it so low is the same thing with The Zone of Interest. There are just other films that I enjoyed more. Yeah, because I really liked Killers of the Flower Moon. I thought it was visceral. I thought that Martin Scorsese really did his research and really tried his best to start the conversation about the history of this in America. And I thought the performances were great. I thought the script was tight. I thought his work as a director was very fascinating. And it's up there with some of Martin Scorsese's best, I believe. Yeah. Not going to get too much because I've already talked about it in one of my previous episodes. You can go listen to it. Now, number 6 is Poor Things. Poor Things is such a breath of fresh air in the sense of this grand spectacle Oscar baity films, but it's more than that. It's actually something of substance. It's incredible of world building. The acting is like, because I feel like of the past 10 years, maybe 15, we've gotten to the point in this, I don't know, in cinema and TV where everything is so natural or like just realism, if you guys know what I mean. Like everything has to be real. Everything has to be of serious almost. Do you know what I mean? Like super, super serious. I think this film, it takes the realness of these characters and what they're going through, but it adds this like layer of silliness and stupidity and just absurdity that just makes it all the more grand. Like the idea of like Bella Baxter just like being reborn into a new body and experiencing life and the going abouts of it. I loved it. And just the ridiculousness of it. Like Mark Ruffalo's character is so ridiculous. It's literally screaming out a window, just being like, Bella, why won't you come back to me? Like this almost Shakespearean level of melodramaticness that I think has been missing in cinema for the past 10 years. Which, yeah, and it was just beautiful to watch and very funny. It's really, really fucking funny. Like, this film was hilarious. Like, when Willem Dafoe would just, because he has like a gastric intestinal problem because his dad did something to him when he was growing up. So every time he eats food, he has to like burp out this gas bubble in order to digest the food. So he'll just be eating and they'll just be eating and all of a sudden he'll just be like, bah. Right in the middle of dinner, and it happens like 4 times in the film, and every time you're just like, oh fuck yeah, he does that, what the fuck. Now actually, funnily enough, I mentioned 2 films right beside each other because in the best actress race, it's between Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone for best actress. Now this is because a lot of people are comparing it to the best actress race last year, and it is similar. Like Emma Stone won the Critics' Choice Award, she won the Golden Globe, and she won the BAFTA, and Lily Gladstone won the SAG and won the Golden Globe. So like it's a very tight race between them, like last year between Cate Blanchett and Michelle Yeoh. Now last year was different for me personally because I wasn't a big fan of Tar. I thought way too long. It didn't need to be 3 hours long. And I don't know, I thought I liked the story as more of a of not taking it seriously. Like what happens at the end of Tar, I think is hysterical because of what happens to her because she deserves it because she's a bad person. But people have flipped that and are like, oh no, it's about this and this and this. So I think that whole thing is just, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of Tar. But I was a huge fan of Everything Everywhere All at Once. So last year I was like, yes, I want Michelle Yeoh to win. I think she deserves it. Her performance is incredible. This year I'm kind of like torn between the two because I think both are equally as great, but they're 2 such different performances. Like Emma Stone in Poor Things, she's like I said, reborn as a new person in this world. So she goes from being like a baby to like this full woman. So she's physically learning like how to move like a human and vocally learning how to talk and mentally learning how to act. So it's like it's a somersault of different things, and it's so out there and boisterous and loud and brilliant. And watching it as an actor, you're like, wow, like it's amazing because there's so much strength in just letting loose, but still having those small moments. But whereas Lily Gladstone's performance was very much of a silent, symbolic, very pulled back performance, because of her as an Indigenous woman in the area having to protect herself and protect her family, and just having to control herself, because if she stepped out of line, she would have faced the consequences. And how she dealt with these men, and how she felt just being preyed upon, like from these wolves. And it's so subdued but so brilliant, and her eyes like just tell the story. It's two very different performances, and I think both, honestly, I want a tie, because there was, yes, in the Oscars, there was a tie, and that's how Barbara Streisand got her second Oscar. For A Star Is Born, she tied with Audrey Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn? Wait, I have to look this up. I'm sorry. I have to take a moment. Let me, who tied at the Academy? Yep, Catherine Hepburn. They tied. So in 1969, Barbara Streisand and Catherine Hepburn tied for Best Actress. And the video of that is brilliant, because the presenter is like, what the fuck? It's a tie. I feel like we need that again. If that happens tonight, I will be so over the moon. Anyway, Poor Things, I loved it. And literally, same reason why, because fucking a bunch of other films I preferred were, I thought that's why it's number 6. Now we have Anatomy of a Fall at number 5. Just like Maestro again, fantastic acting, but fantastic acting across the board. And this script, this script is so good. It is so, it's so tightly written. It's punchy. It's memorable. It stays with you. It has moments where all the actors get to shine. And it is truly immaculate to watch this screenplay unfold on the screen. And it's such a different film to what we've had before. Like a courtroom drama, but it's not just a courtroom drama. It's much more than that. I don't know. It's such an insight into the world of this politics of the courtroom. And here's the thing. At the end of it, she gets acquitted and she gets tried not guilty. But you don't know if she didn't do it or not, because they don't really answer the question. They give you clips of it, and sometimes they show you and you're like, oh my God, she did do it. But it's never confirmed. They kind of do go a little bit to he was mentally unstable, and yes, he did do it because of the thing with the dog and the medication. But even then, there's still a glimmer of did he? Yeah. Anatomy of Fall, love it. I can't wait to watch her Oscar clip of just that monologue, Sandra Hüller. Imagine Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone don't win. Sandra Hüller wins. Oh, Jesus. No, I loved Anatomy of a Fall. Yeah, I thought it was spectacular. Well, number 4 is The Holdovers. This is such a feel-good film. The Holdovers, it's just about being human and just, life isn't just as melodramatic. It's about these little moments, and it's about this teacher who's at a school, a boarding school, and he's in charge of taking care of the boys who have no homes to go to during the Christmas holiday, hence why the holdovers. So he has to take care of them, and this one kid who has a rough relationship with his parents has to stay for the whole entire thing, and then they bond, and then one of the cafeteria chefs stays with them as well because her son died, so she has nothing to go back to, and they form this like little family, and like we see like the effects they have on each other, and it's just, and it's a Christmas movie. Yeah, it's so wild. This is a Christmas movie. This is a Christmas movie. Don't get it twisted. This is a full Christmas movie. And yeah, it's just so good. Like, it's like before with Anatomy of Fall and Maestro, the acting in this is top notch. Like, obviously, Divine Joy Randolph is like, she has her moments of like, of these outbursts of like emotional, like, of emotion, but her subtleness always just comes back, and she's fucking hysterical. She's like so funny. She delivers these lines, and the relationship between Paul Giamatti and Dominic Sessa's character in this is a very classic like father-son relationship, even though they're not father and son, but like he's never had a son, and he's never really had, well, he does have a dad, but the dad is in a mental hospital, but it's hard to explain. But so they kind of rely on each other, and even to the sense where Mary, Divine Joy Randolph's character, becomes his mother figure in a sense. So it's watching this kid actually have a father and mother figure for just 2 weeks, where he's had none of them before. And it reminds me of the classic like 90s films, like almost like a Forrest Gump or like 16 Candles almost, or even like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off kind of vibe, like the kind of 90s or even late 80s kind of vibe of filmmaking. Yeah, no, it's very good. And it's in the cinemas now, and I recommend everyone go see it. Number 3 is Past Lives. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to cry on a podcast, but Past Lives is incredible. Go watch it. It's on Netflix. And yes, like, yeah, Past Lives. I've described Past Lives before in an episode, and I don't have the energy in me to go into it again. So you'll just have to believe me and go watch it and just be ready to be moved. Number 3, Past Lives. Now, number 2 is a most recent one I saw. It's American Fiction. Now, American Fiction is about this author who's down on his luck financially, and his family situation is falling apart. And he's a writer, and his books aren't selling that well. So, and he sees the market for what he can write, and he's a black writer. And he sees that people are buying these books about the stereotypical black experience. And he's just like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna just make a book that I think is horrible, and that's gonna be such a stereotype about the black community. And fuck it, I don't care. I'm just doing this. And it becomes a hit. The book becomes a hit, so he has to create this whole persona of this author of this book that he wrote, and it's so funny. It's what I think out of every single film on this list, this film is the funniest. This film had me cackling, and it also made me think of like situations like this. Like, if I was in this man's situation, but in my case, about if I was a gay author What do you mean if I was a gay author? I am gay. I'm not an author, but I'm gay. If I was an author and I wanted to avoid writing books about the stereotypical like gay trauma, is that not what everyone just wants to read about so they can feel better about themselves? So it's a very like really interesting perspective on it. And I think all the performances are great. There is this fantastic scene by Sterling K. Brown. Before I get into him, Jeffrey Wright, I've loved him ever since The Hunger Games, Catching Fire Part 2. And before that, was he in anything? No, like, oh, he was in Angels in America back in like 2001. I've always loved Jeffrey Wright. I'm so glad he's getting recognition. If it were up to me, I would give him the Oscar for Best Actor. But he does a fantastic job. He really carries this film. He goes through such a transformation, and it's a nice movie where you see a character who is stuck in his own ways, but then learns that, you know, you can't be in that way. You have to change your perspective in order to grow as a person. But the real standout to me was Sterling K. Brown, who plays Jeffrey Wright's character's gay brother in this film. And their mother is sadly has dementia, and she's going through it. And the mother never really accepted that her son was gay. And there's one point where they're in the retirement home, and Sterling K. Brown's character is dancing with the mom, and it's a very beautiful scene. They're like dancing, slow dancing together. The mom's looking at him, almost recognizing him. It's a very beautiful moment. And I can't remember the exact line she says, but she says to him something like, "I always knew you weren't a queer." And you could hear a pin drop. And Sterling K. Brown, like, just stops, looks at her. Like, just this stern look. And it's such a complex look because it's just like, you're my mother and I love you, but you just said that. And he just walks out of the room. And it's it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking to watch. Because obviously, well, I'm not defending her, but like, she's... But it's such a complicated emotion because this is your mother and she's going through something horrible like dementia. But at the same time, she never really accepted you for being gay, and she just said something horrible to you. And so it's like, what do you do? So he just walks out of the room. And you see him really try and even connect with Jeffrey Wright's character, because at the beginning they're a bit disjointed because Jeffrey Wright is in of this mindset because he was I think the favorite child, so he has this view that his parents were these beings almost that did no wrong and could do no wrong, and if they did do wrong, it was because of this, it was because they had to or because they loved us. But his sister and brother are like, no, mom and dad were horrible. Like, dad was an asshole who cheated on mom, and mom was like just mentally not there for us and ignored every problem we had. And so Jeffrey Wright and his brother have this quarrel because they both had different lives growing up together. And it's very interesting. It's a very interesting take on the family dynamic. It's something you don't really see because it's, I don't know, I think you don't see it much. But yeah, I loved American Fiction. It's still in the cinemas. Go see it. It's brilliant. And it's I just love it. I love it. I hope it wins something tonight at the Oscars. And well, y'all probably know what's at number one. Number one is Barbie. Now, I've already described Barbie. Barbie, With Oppenheimer, I don't know if Oppenheimer will stand the test of time. So we have to wait and see if it does. With a film like Barbie, I know it will stand the test of time. It has made such a cultural impact. It has made such a devastating blow onto the pop culture world that I know in 10 years' time we will still be talking about this. And not only that, because if it was just the pop culture moment that we'll talk about, but the movie was shite, then this would be at like my number 10. But the fact that this film blew away the expectations of what everyone thought it could be makes this my number 1. I had no idea what to expect going in there. I laughed hard. I cried hard. I had an existential crisis. I felt so many things watching this film that is what I want to do in this industry. In acting, in theater, film, TV, whatever. I want to make someone go through this, feel these feelings that I felt. This film makes me want to be an actor. Watching this gave my life such a drive. Not only in the film itself, but in the people supporting it and seeing how it brought together generations of people, and also I know it's stereotypical to say, but like, I know it, and I know it vastly, like, because the film isn't long enough to cover every single issue in, like, every single women's issue. Absolutely not. It would be a 24-hour film to cover everything. But I think it's a good conversation starter, and I think it's a really good film for especially men to watch, to acknowledge their privileges and their effect on life, and how subsequently it has affected women and everyone else who is not a man. So I think that's why my number 1 pick is Barbie. And it's a shame because if my calculations are correct, Barbie should be walking out with 4 Oscars. That's Best Adapted Screenplay, Production Design, Costume Design, and Best Song. It could only go home with 1, and that's Best Song. Which, hey, I'm happy that it won something. I'm happy that it will win something. But it might go, production and costume might go to Poor Things, or they might split it down the middle and give production design to Poor Things and costume design to Barbie. But I hope to God that Greta does win the screenplay award, because like Christopher Nolan, I feel like it's her time and she deserves the recognition, even though her first, like, major, not her first ever, well, it was her first ever major film, but, like, she's been on the scene for a while, but her first, like, kind of, like, bam into the mainstream was Lady Bird, and that was 2017. So I think she deserves some Oscar gold. She deserves an award. She deserves some praise. Yeah. That's my top 10 of the Best Picture nominees. I am going to be watching the Oscars tonight, and hopefully you will be listening to this episode before then. If not, I will be releasing this episode the day after the Oscars. So I will, in my next episode with my guest, we will briefly talk about the Oscars and the ceremony itself and how it went and who the actual winners are. And who knows, it all might be wrong. And Messy the dog from Anatomy of a Fall might win 10 Academy Awards because he's a good boy and he deserves it. For those who don't know, Messy the dog is the dog from Anatomy of a Fall who is a brilliant actor. Anyway, that is the end of this episode. Thank you so much for everybody to listen. You can listen on all devices that have a podcast, on Apple Podcast, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube. Thank you so much. This is a brand new start to season 2, and I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode and for us to go on the rest of season 2's journey. And yeah, make sure you subscribe and give me a listen and listen to my other episodes as well and leave a like or comment. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.